Well, that's not good. What's up, guys? Welcome back to TBN Off-Road. We are back in the shop today working on the JK, and I've got a leaky passenger side axle seal. I've already got the Jeep disassembled. I was doing some other upgrades, so while I'm in here, we're going to go ahead and replace that. I've got some new Timken seals for a 35 spline shaft. Let's get after it. All right, I'm going to start by pulling the diff cover. There is a drain back here. Mine's kind of all bashed in, and I'm not 100% sure if that plug will come out, but we'll pull the cover out, and I'll let everything start kind of draining, and then I can disassemble everything else. I hate the smell of gear oil so badly. Tell you what, it was already low on fluid just from leaking that much. Oh yeah, all kinds of dirt and everything else in there. All right, we'll go ahead and spray that down with some brake clean and try to get as much junk out of there as we can. The carrier's got to come out, so I'll just kind of let that drain for a little bit. For now, we'll move on to taking the axle shafts out. All right, my steering is obviously disconnected, so this is going to flop around a little bit, but caliper bolt, you got one here and one down here, 18 mil. And of course, put these on nice and tight. Caliper should come off. Sometimes you have to hit this a little bit. There we go. Oh, set that up out of the way. Okay. You just kind of, you can either hang this or set it up out of the way. You just don't want a ton of tension on this brake line. And then rotor comes off. Now we will take this axle nut off. Axle nut is a 36 mil. Don't fall, big girl. Okay. All right, now we've got to take the unit bearing off. So these are 12.13 mil bolts. You got one on the top, two on the bottom. So one up here, one down here, and one on the other side. And you might have to kind of twist this axle a little bit to get your socket in there and not hit that U-joint. I was actually in here the other day, and I pulled this axle shaft because I was trying to put RCVs in, and I realized I ordered the wrong RCVs. I just got normal chromoly, and I wanted the 300Ms. So I took everything apart and realized I had the wrong axles. So I sent the old ones back, ordered new ones, and in the process, I tried to clean a bunch of the dirt and debris out of this axle tube. And I think in the process of doing that, I either shoved dirt into that axle seal or I just damaged the seal. I didn't really have anything, you know, graceful to shove in there. So I was using a crowbar that was just long enough. I thought it was short enough that it wouldn't reach to the seal, but I think I accidentally got the seal. So I drove it yesterday, came back today and realized that there's oil all over the ground. And here we are doing this. Now we need to loosen or take off this ABS sensor. It's a 5mm Allen bolt. You can kind of pry that out to start with, but you're not going to be able to get it out until you get the dust shield out of the way. There we go. Okay, so it's just kind of out right now. All right, now you're either going to have to hit this with a hammer. I just had this off, so it's going to come right out. So there's dust shield, unit bearing. Let's get this ABS sensor out. There's the sensor, dust shield, and then you should be able to just slide the unit bearing off. There we go. And now this axle shaft should slide right out. There we go. Oh yeah, look at that. Lots of grime on that one. So I'll have to clean all this out. So I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on camera. But you guys can kind of see all the dirt and grime and gross stuff that's in there. The sad part is that was about halfway full of stuff when I cleaned it out the first time. There you can kind of see. So I'm just going to have to, I borrowed a brush from Matt at High Lift Offroad. Shout out to him for letting me borrow that. And I'll just kind of run it in and out of there to try and clean all that junk out. So we'll move on to the driver's side now. All right, same thing on the driver's side. All right, brake is off. That's what we were trying to avoid. Let's hope I didn't break anything there. Whew. Braided lines, guys. Be more responsible than me. Tie that baby up. All right, big nut. Get the ABS sensor off. Put that free. And now we'll get these unit bearing bolts off. One of these was very angry, and I had to kind of beat it on there. There we go. Oh, I got that one tight. There we go. I will say having the tie rod off is very nice. Actually, the entire steering I took off because I'm upgrading that as well. You'll see that in another video. But it makes moving these around a lot easier. You don't necessarily have to, but you will have to pull at least the tie rod off to get to pull the carrier. All right, same thing as the other side. Unit bearing comes off. ABS sensor comes out, and dust shield comes off. And now axle shaft comes out. All right, we will move on to the carrier and pull it off. All right, I'm going to clean this out a little bit first before I get the carrier out of there, just to kind of spray everything down. All right, mine has an air locker in it, but even without the locker, your procedure is pretty much the same. You pretty much have to pull these carrier bearing cap bolts out, and then we'll have to kind of pry the carrier to get it out. But I already disconnected my airline, so we'll just zip these guys off. The biggest thing with this is that these guys have to go back in the same orientation and on the same side as they came out. So just keep track of them. All right, right side's going up. It was a 19 mil if I didn't say it already. Okay. Now, oh, that one's just going to come out. Beautiful. This guy is heavy, so kind of be ready to catch it and set it on something pretty quick. And you also, there's shim packs on the side here. You have to keep the shim packs together and make sure that you know which ones go on the same side. I'll kind of show you a trick with that, but try your best not to lose them as you bring them out. Okay, so carrier's out. You can see one of the shims laying there and then the other one on the other side. Sometimes you'll have 2, 3 shims. They're going to be all different lengths, thicknesses. So if you have multiple shim packs, I'd recommend using a zip tie and just kind of like zip tying them all together, and make sure you kind of just keep that all in the same place. Don't move them. The other thing you can do is, which I'm going to do, is if you have a set of calipers, just go ahead and measure each side, write that down, take a picture, do something so you can remember in case you do mix those up, which thicknesses went on which side. Okay, now that we have everything out, you can see the seals here. And let's see if we can get the light right. If you look right down there at the bottom, down in there, again, hard to see on camera, but the seal itself has just got a little bit of wear or torn, kind of surface to it. So that one's definitely the one that's leaking. And this guy over here, you can see just how much mud gets caked in there. So I've got RCV shafts on order, but like I said, these are 35 spline, and I might be doing outer axle seals. If you guys look into those, It's a kind of pressed in seal out here that will keep all that mud out of the tube itself. So I'm trying to figure out if they'll work with my setup, but that's another option if you don't want to do this again. So next, I've got a big pipe. We're just gonna slide a pipe in there and pound these seals in to get them out. All right, this is really hard to see, but there is a shoulder internally here. You're not gonna be able to see it on camera. So if you shove a pipe in and hit it, you're not actually hitting the seal. You have to jump over the shoulder, then slide up and hit the seal. So I'm close. Well, we'll see if I can finish that off. So there's the shoulder. I'm gonna go just past it. Now, oh, now I feel the seal, and it is very difficult to keep that on there on this side. Hey, look at that. We got it. There you go. There's your seal. The rubber and the spring kind of blew out when I first started it. So there's all the pieces of the old one. We'll get the new one and get that put back in there. But first I'll tap out this other side. There's the actual seal. Shoulder. Seal. It's hard with all that mud. There we go. That one tapped right out. Perfect. There you can kind of see it's a little more together than the other side was, but that one tapped right out. This side was very difficult. Once you realize there's a shoulder in there, I wonder if I can show it to you. Hang on. So there you can actually see the shoulder I was talking about. The silver surface is what the seal was on, and then that kind of brown dirty on the back side there, back in here deeper, that has a lip on it. So I was hitting that first, but you actually have to kind of jump the pipe over that and then get it on the back side of the seal. Okay, I've got this nice long brush that Matt at High Lift let me borrow. So I'm just gonna slide this in and out a bunch, spray a bunch of brake clean in here, try to get all of this mud and gunk and nasty stuff out of here as much as we can. We just want to keep pushing it towards the center. All right, if you guys see now, hopefully that shows up on camera, but it is much cleaner than it was. No more chunks of stuff. I'll take that. Okay, we've got the new seal. It might look a little different than a stock axle because this is 435 spline shaft. You can, I don't know if you can really see it in there. There is a spring around the inside of that. So the spring side of the seal is going to go on the inside of the axle. I've also got, and I'll link this in the description, a seal press tool I got off Amazon. It was like 20 bucks, but I'll put a link down in the description for that. That's going to make this way easier. So basically we're going to set the spring up in there, slide the tool on, and crank away. So the key is to just try to make this as straight as possible when you start. Okay, so I'll run that in a little bit. The tool itself will actually fit inside the seal. Because this is a 35 spline, I test fit it earlier and it's a little tight. So we'll find out together how well this is going to work. Basically, you slide it in like that, and you're supposed to have, I think, like an 1.25 inch wrench. I don't have one of those. We're just going to use a crescent wrench. That looks fairly happy. We'll just have to keep an eye on it as we press it in and make sure it goes in straight. I have the biggest wrench for no reason. I'm gonna double check that. I'm afraid we're a little crooked. Oh yeah, cool. Well, that's ruined. Okay, so turns out this tool, thanks to Amazon's Chinesium, does not fit this perfectly. And this, again, it's a 35 spline, so if you have stock axles, it might be fine. I'll link it anyways, but enter at your own risk. The problem is it actually sits just inside the inner diameter here, and the one you saw me pressing before actually got ruined. It kind of jumped behind the seal and bent everything. So I flipped it over. It does still fit, and I can at least get it part of the way started with that. Then I've got another race driver kit that can kind of finish the job, and then the last side, I've already did that to kind of test to make sure this worked, but I just used a brass punch to kind of seat everything. So hopefully, I had to punch the other seal out, and I went and got another seal. So hopefully it worked on the other side, it'll work on this side, but not the cleanest way to install this. But the big thing is just make sure we go slow. Okay, the spring side is still facing in, and make sure we get this started straight. I'm only going to do a couple turns here just to get it started, and then make sure it's actually going in straight. All right, it's a little tilted this way. We'll just make sure that, like I said, I'll walk that in and then finish it up. Okay, so that tool got me almost flush. You can see from the other side, there's some more kind of silver showing here from the outer seal. So I'm going to take that race driver and just kind of tap that so we can seat that seal more. For me, this is a 63 millimeter. I'm sure it's not the right one, but it's the one I have. And the tiniest hammer in the world. We're basically just going to walk that in. Okay, this seems to have worked. You can kind of see now we've got a decent amount of the outer seal showing on both sides. So we're going to try that. Sometimes, guys, the tools you buy just doesn't work out the way they intend to, and you kind of got to come up with plan B. So it's very frustrating. Just try to take a breath, take a step back, and get creative. But as long as you can kind of just keep plugging away at it, you'll eventually get there. Okay, now we're going to grab the carrier and slide it back in. Don't forget to put the shims on the correct side. And not break that little copper piece. There we go. All right, she wants to fall out. That's awesome. I've got this axle tilted down. That's why it wants to fall out right now. Let's see if we can get one of these guys on. Okay, these get torqued to 80 foot-pounds. Okay, carrier's back in. I'll go ahead and hook the locker line up, and then we'll put the axle shafts in. Okay, there's one. With the amount of dirt in there, make sure you guys clean up this seal surface. Make sure it's nice and clean, doesn't have any dirt on it. Oh, come 2 axles in, we'll put the unit bearings on. Dust cover. Gotta slide our ABS sensor through. And then our unit bearing. Make sure when you install the unit bearing, your ABS sensor is facing up and a little bit forward. Oh, so it might be easier to put this guy in now. There we go. There we go. All right, 5mm Allen. It says like 50 inch-pounds. I just get it snug. And you got your long 13mm bolts. Those get torqued to 75 foot-pounds. Now, big axle nut. This is 100 foot-pounds, and you're probably going to need something to hold the hub to keep it from spinning. That side's good. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Tighten down our Allen. All right, 75 foot-pounds. There's 100. Awesome. Okay, now we can put the brakes back on, and then the wheels and tires. This is the TerraFlex big brake kit, so might look a little different than what you guys have, but concept's the same. Okay, for the sake of making this easy, I'm gonna run one of these lug nuts in, just kind of keep that on there. Caliper bolts. Don't forget, red Loctite on the caliper bolts. Red Loctite. I don't remember what the torque rating is on these. I normally just get them as tight as I can and then give them a couple whacks with a hammer. It's always good to beat on a ratcheting wrench. Don't do that. But I'm lazy. On to the other side. Okay, I've got a lube blocker on this, and it's reusable. Otherwise, you're just going to RTV around that and then smear it up on there. This guy has a torque sequence that I can never remember, but you basically kind of star around the gasket to torque it down. Okay, I'll torque those down. We'll put some diff fluid in there. The specs for a Rubicon say 1.35 quarts. That's with the factory locker. So we're going to shoot for that, but I always just check this with a zip tie. So we will fill this baby up, put the wheels and tires on, and we will be done. All right, the very last thing I'm going to do is paint mark all these bolts so that, oh, that's a little too much paint. So that I know if they've spun. That's a terrible example. Wipe some of that off. There we go. So you see that line, and you know that if this loosened up, those two lines won't align any longer, and you got a loose bolt. It's a lot easier than walking around and torque checking everything every single time you wheel. All right, guys, that is it for today. Solid day in the shop. A little bit frustrating at times, but overall the job is not too bad once you kind of know what you're doing. TBN Offroad, Facebook and Instagram if you want some more behind the scenes content. tbnoffroad.com. We've got our ride schedule on there. Come out and wheel with us. And we've also got our merch link on there. We've got some sweet new merch like this TBN Offroad American flag tee. We've got them in white, black, gray, and charcoal. So if you want to support the channel, we appreciate it. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.